Hello everyone, Seraphin here, welcome back for more Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. When I last left you guys, we had just gotten into turn 2 of Chapter 24, and we have some new units to talk about. So here we'll start with Lucia first. Here we have Lucia. She is a pre-promoted Sword Master, which is the second one of those we've actually gotten so far in the game, we have Stefan being the first one. So she comes at a higher level than Stefan, but with worse stats, which is kind of annoying. So Lucia's kind of in that really awkward spot where she's a pre-promote, yeah, but she's generally speaking worse off than every other Swordmaster / Myrmidon in the game. If you had gotten Zyhark or even Mia to this point, as far as levels concerned, they'd be much better than her. Zyhark and Mia probably will have capped speed already, and possibly even skill. Mia might have about comparable strength actually to this, but Zyhark definitely would be stronger, and Stefan's just better out of the box. He's lower level and he has higher stats almost all around, so if you still have Stefan, there really isn't any reason to use Lucia. She does have the parity skill, which is, I guess, okay. So just like the boss and the one we assigned to Astrid, she ignores support, terrain, and skill bonuses. So giving her support conversations is useless unless you take the skill off of her. At least she does have A rank in swords to start out with. Stefan comes with S, by the way. And she can use a Silver Sword, which is cool, but her damage output, sadly, is not quite as good as I'd like it to be. She does come with a Laguz Guard for some reason, too, but yeah, anyway. Moving on to Bastion, he is a pre-promoted Sage. I believe he's the second one also, because we have Khalil already. And much like the Stefan dichotomy, Khalil, I think, is just better than Bastion in almost every way. And the annoying thing is that he still comes with knives, as opposed to staves. So both of the pre-promoted sages you get in this game, neither of which can use staves, they both come with knives. And it's kind of a way of saying that you really should just promote either Soren or Tormod or Ilyana and make them a sage and give them staves, and it kind of encourages you to promote one of them and use them rather than relying on the pre-promoted ones, because they're just going to be inferior. Bastion is a bit stronger than Kal-Il, and I think he's got pretty comparable magic and everything else, but he is slower than her, and they have about the same stats otherwise, and he's also several levels higher. So he's not awful by any means. He is also a wind mage specialist, wind magic specialist. You see he's got A in wind, B in fire, and C in lightning. So he is like kind of a worse replacement for Soren if something happens to Soren. And Khalil being a worse replacement for Tormod, because Tormod's also focused on fire magic. If you want a sage focusing on lightning, your best bet is Ilyana, because I believe she's the only one that can reach maximum level lightning magic. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's, you know what, I'm willing to bet that you probably could get Soren or Tormod, or any of them really, to S rank lightning magic to use the Rex Bolt tome, but it is by far the easiest with Ilyana, since she already has a high rank in lightning when you get her, and she primarily uses that one anyway. So yeah, here's Bastion. He's nothing really to write home about, and I'm not going to be using, because Soren and Ilyana are both better. Not really anything to talk about. So we'll go ahead and move on. We're going to go ahead and send Ike toward the boss, because of course we are. And he should mow through most of these guys without too much effort, because he's freaking Ike. I will note that, as impressive as all of his stats are right now, his strength is still only 21. Which is still really good, mind you. I think his cap is like 26. It might only even be 25, I'm not sure. But somewhere in that ballpark, but he caps out at like 28 speed and like 30 skill, 24 or 25 defense. So he's pretty close to capping just about everything. He'll probably get there by the time he's like level 12 or 13, honestly. Even resistance, I think he caps out at like 21 or 22, so he's not far from that either. And he's going to be an absolute wrecking ball, more so than he already is, of course. His HP also is a little on the low side. He's only got 41 hit points at level 8 promoted, whereas someone like Boyd's got 52 already. But to be fair, fighters always have a lot more HP than most people, and I guess Marsha's got less than he does, and she's about the same level. Although, again, Pegasi generally have fewer hit points than most characters. I'm starting to realize that my team is actually kind of frail in a lot of respects, with the exception of Jill and Ike, and Oscar's pretty hardy as well. Neffany, I think, can hold her own in a straight fight. Yeah, probably. 19 defense is good enough with the Night Ward, so... That being said, I'm starting to feel not having an Armor Knight on my team. I like having those around for the sake of tanking things, but not having one in this situation is a little interesting. I basically have a flying armor knight in the form of Jill, but she's also a lot faster than an armor knight. Not just in terms of raw movement, but her speed is ridiculously high. She's probably close to capping that out. I think Wyvern Lord speed cap is 25, maybe 26. She is female, and female units generally have higher speed caps than their male counterparts. So I think she might actually have 26, we'll see. But her strength is supposed to be a lot higher. I wish her strength was a lot higher. She does still have the energy drop that I'm seriously considering letting her have at this point. But we will wait and see. I'm confident she'll make up for it. I know I've been saying that for a few chapters now, but I'm still holding out some hope, you guys. I have a lot of faith in Jill. Maybe it's misplaced, maybe it's not, but I really, really like Jill. She almost always carries me through my runs in this game, because she's just that freaking good of a unit. Her and Nephany and Ike are probably my 3 favorite units in this game. Just because they're all extremely competent and capable combat units. Soren's also very good in this game. I like Soren quite a bit. I think we'll let Mist have this kill. She should be able to do it. Oh yeah, easily. Wow, she doubles the Myrmidon? Okay, so Mist is a lot faster than I remember her being. Not going to complain about it too much, but... Amarachius? Such a cool name for a sword. Those of you who are curious and want to know about where that name of that sword comes from, I know I talked about it. If people knew what it was, then they're awesome. It is from a book series that I'm a huge fan of called The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher, and I highly recommend you read those if you're any way remotely interested in... it's not even really fantasy. I'm not really sure what you'd call it. They're really kind of thriller novels almost. But the titular character, Mr. Dresden, is a wizard, but it takes place in like modern-day Chicago. So it's really cool. It's like part detective, part thriller, part fantasy novel series, and they're fantastic. So if you're remotely interested in that, which if you're watching me play through a fantasy game like this, you probably are. I don't want to make any assumptions, but if you're not familiar with that series or never heard of it, I highly recommend you give it a shot. They're amazing. There's like 15 books in the series right now, and there's 2 more coming out this year. In fact, I think one of them comes out like next week. So there's a lot of material to go through if you're interested. I highly recommend you give it a shot. I actually was only recently turned on to it this very year, as a matter of fact, earlier this year. I'd known about it for some time, but never really had the time or the inclination to start reading another book series. I will confess, I like reading, but I don't read nearly as much as I should. I don't know if there's any, like, a recommendation on how much one should read, quote-unquote, but I definitely wish I spent more time reading books. And I've been getting to the point where I can start doing that more often now, which is very nice, and I'm liking it a lot. It helps that I have all those Dresden books on audiobook format. A friend of mine has them all and lent them to me. So I'm listening to all the books, and I've already gone through, I think, the first 6 in the span of the last couple of months, so I'm enjoying them immensely. And I'm actually doing a lot more reading, which is making me very happy, because Lord knows I need to spend time reading more. I don't generally like to talk about my struggles in my personal life all that much, unless it's something that's, you know, happened a long time ago, like when I talked briefly about my addiction to World of Warcraft during the Castlevania Let's Play. That's something that is in my past that I don't mind bringing up, but there's a lot of things going on currently in my personal life that I'm a little bit less, a little bit more, not necessarily afraid, but I'm less partial to talking about that kind of stuff. What I will say is, I have a fairly large struggle with, and I'm not going to say depression, because I don't think that's correct. I don't necessarily think I'm quote-unquote depressed, but I struggle with being generally just upset by some of the things some of the things I read, particularly going on in the news. I admit I read the news probably a little bit too much, and I probably should focus on it a lot less than I currently do. But a lot of the things I read just make me upset, and I don't like reading about it, and I unfortunately have a hard time tearing away from it. It's like a train wreck, you just can't look away. That's what I tell people. But I decided last month I decided to make the decision to just not talk or not indulge as much in that universe, not universe, it's our current universe, but I decided to take a break from the majority of it. I used to frequent a lot of social media sites like Reddit and I don't use Twitter or anything like that, but I do go on Facebook a fair bit. I have a lot of friends and family that I talk to on there, but just the things I would see and read got really, really irritated, and I just decided I needed a break from that. So I actually ended up deleting the Reddit app from my phone, which shocked some people close to me very much because they knew how much I read and paid attention to that stuff. And I have not touched it in probably about a month and a half now, and it's done very good things for my mental health, let's just say that. So that's been one thing that's been going on. And I apologize if that demeanor I've been having as a result of that has been impacting my work here. It's not that I don't want to be doing this or anything, it's that as a result of this quote-unquote anguish that I've been feeling, I haven't been wanting to do as much in this platform as I was when I first started doing it, and that's my own fault. I don't fault anybody who is watching this for that. I don't fault anybody around me personally for encouraging me to do it. Uh-oh. What is this? Okay, that was weird. There was a strange error on my part. Anyway, well, it doesn't seem to have affected anything, so we'll keep going. Sorry about that. Anyway, needless to say, I don't fault anybody for anything that goes wrong in my life, or anything that I read that makes me upset. It's not anybody's fault. I'm just overly sensitive to that kind of stuff. I wish I wasn't, but again, it's just how I am as a person. I'm very sensitive to this kind of stuff. I've always been a fairly sensitive person. I don't like to admit that particular fact, but it's the truth. So apologies if that's something you don't want to hear, but it's just how I am. So that being said, I'm doing my best to mitigate that particular impact on my life and my activities that I partake of in my life, such as doing this. And I completely forgot how I went off on that particular tangent there, but oh yeah, I was talking about Dresden, duh. Holy smokes. Anyway, go read those books, they're great. But having spent the time to sit and read, or rather listen to those books, I've actually read a couple other books, like actual physical books in the meantime as well. There is another book series I can't recommend enough, is one of the principal voice actors in Three Houses. He voices one of the main characters, Claude, who is the leader of the Golden Deer House. His name is Joe Zija. He is an exceptional human being. I first discovered him along with Three Houses when I started playing it. The three main character voice actors, by the way, are some of the most wholesome and amazing people. That being Joe Zija, who voices Claude, Tara Platt, who voices Edelgard, and especially Chris Hackney, who voices Dimitri. He is absolutely my favorite. The man is absolutely just a paragon of humanity. I'm going to put it that way. He's a very wholesome dude. He's a great dude, and he's incredibly talented. If you played Three Houses and you've listened to Dimitri's performance, it's unreal. But anyway, Joe Zija, on the other hand, not only is he a voice actor and a musician and a bunch of other things, but he is also an author. And he wrote a trio of books. I want to say they're science fiction, but they're more like science comedy. So it's space science fiction themed books, but there's definitely a quirky, humorous twist to them. I don't know if he has like an overarching name for the whole trilogy as a whole, but the first book in the series is called Mechanical Failure. And I just actually finished reading that one a couple of weeks ago, and it was hilarious, and I loved it. So if you're interested in some less maybe fantasy-oriented works by a member of the Fire Emblem community, then I highly encourage you to check that out. I think Joe actually also streams on Twitch some of the games that he's performed in. Particularly, he streamed Three Houses, and he obviously did the Golden Deer route, and as far as I know, he finished it. And he actually ended up cosplaying as Claude while streaming that last episode of the gameplay, which is hilarious. He's also a very wholesome dude, very talented guy. If you're not familiar with his work, I highly encourage you to check him out. I would definitely recommend you play Three Houses if you want to get some of the best gist of it. But obviously that's me being a little bit biased there, so if you're not interested in that, at least look up one of his books and see if it interests you. It's great. So that's my spiel about books I've been reading lately. But anyway, what I was talking about previously in the last episode was Three Houses. We'll get back to that, I guess. Suffice to say, I enjoyed it immensely. I'm actually attempting it right now. I ended up getting all the DLC for the game because that's how much I enjoyed it. I think the season pass for the DLC is like $20-25, so it wasn't that bad. But it adds a lot of new content, which is really nice. Most of it's a lot of it's cosmetic. Like it adds costumes for the various characters. It adds a couple of extra other interesting little options and stuff. But one of the coolest aspects of it, holy crap! What was I talking about? I just blanked all of a sudden. Anyway, oh yeah, so one of the interesting aspects of it added a new difficulty mode. When the game shipped, it only included a normal and a hard difficulty, and of course when I opened the box up and started playing it, I immediately went to hard mode right away. I don't know why, I just felt inclined to. But the really weird thing is, I cleared hard mode on classic difficulty in the Blue Lions, and I honestly felt it was a little too easy. And I know that sounds insane, you're like, really? You beat the hardest difficulty in the game and you thought it was too easy? Well, yeah, it kind of was. Your characters get really, really strong by the end of the game, and they're almost untouchable. Especially if you put any amount of effort into building them reasonably well, which I kind of played blind the first time. I didn't have any online guides or anything to help me out. I just built my characters how I wanted to build them. And it turned out really well, actually. Obviously, Dimitri's amazing as a unit. He's probably... I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think Dimitri's my new favorite lord in the Fire Emblem series. I'm going to include Ike in that. I know Ike's technically not a lord, but he is a main character in the series. And I know Dimitri's technically not the main character. Technically Byleth is, but he's enough of a main character that he counts. Him and Edelgard and Claude all definitely count. So does Byleth, obviously, but at any rate, I love Dimitri. As a character, as a unit, and in every possible facet it is possible to like Dimitri. I love Dimitri. He's absolutely fabulous. And I'm like, you know what? Hard's just a little bit too easy. And then they came out, I think a lot of other longtime players of the Fire Emblem kind of shared my sentiment in that regard. And then with the DLC, like the second patch, I believe they introduced a maddening difficulty, which I think was actually free as part of an update. But maddening difficulty is, let's see, what's the polite way to say it? It's freaking ridiculous. It is absurdly hard. And I quite honestly was not prepared for it. I'm actually in the middle, not in the middle, I'm only like, maybe 8 or 10 hours into my Golden Deer playthrough of Maddening mode, and I'm not doing it with New Game Plus. There is a New Game Plus mode in Three Houses, which kind of allows you to keep a lot of your training and everything on your various units, but I decided not to do that. Okay, so sorry about that. Had a minor technical issue. My emulator decided to crash yet again. It hasn't been happening a great deal, but it happens at a very inopportune time a lot of the time. So as a result, I had to replay this chapter up to this point. It's not exactly the same, but it's pretty close to what I had it before. So apologies for that, ladies and gentlemen. I wasn't planning on such a thing to happen, but I did take advantage of the hiccup here and decided to go ahead and give Jill the full guard instead of Marcia, and I'm just going to keep Marcia away from the ballista because I think Jill needs it more. Even with her high defense, she's taking way too much damage from ballistas, so that's the only change I made. Everybody else has their same stuff. So anyway, let's pick up where we left off. I believe what I was talking about last time was the New Game Plus feature in Three Houses, and how I'm currently making a maddening mode run of the Golden Deer route without any of that, or without the New Game Plus feature enabled. And all New Game Plus does, actually does a lot of stuff, but primarily what it lets you do is allows you to purchase weapon ranks with something called Renown, which is a resource that you earn in the game as a result of completing various maps. I can't get Race in here to dance for someone without getting killed, so I'm just going to leave him there. And that Renown is earned, you know, pretty generously throughout the course of the game, but if you start a New Game Plus, you retain all of your Renown. In fact, I believe you're actually like kind of refunded a lot of it, or get a very large chunk whenever you initiate a New Game Plus. And you can spend that Renown to instantly bump up your unit's weapon ranks if they had it trained in your previous playthrough. It allows you to instantly learn class mastery skills if they achieved that in their last playthrough. So it saves you time, is the primary thing. And it allows you to explore different class promotion paths and different weapon abilities on units without having to sacrifice their core skills and everything. And it lets you double up on your time, basically. It also lets you immediately master out your professor rank, which is probably one of the most important things in the game. And it also gives you a couple of freebie items and stuff like that. But anyway, if you decide to go through and play... Wow, that guy just got crit hardcore. And he's dead. Alright, well, Joffrey might need some help. If you decide to play through a maddening mode playthrough without New Game Plus and successfully complete it, all it does, by the way, is just very subtly change your title screen of the game. It changes it from like a lime green to a bright yellow instead, as like signifying that, hey, you beat the toughest challenge there is in the game. Oh, it's got to be maddening mode or maddening difficulty and classic mode, by the way, too. So you can't go casual mode and let your units die and expect to still get it. You have to do maddening classic to get this, and no New Game Plus to get this title screen change. So I'm a few months into the game, months in the game time. The chapters are broken up by month, pretty much. So I'm on like the 3rd or 4th month now, I think. No maddening difficulty, no New Game Plus classic mode, and it's been a slog. It's really difficult. Hard mode I thought was a little bit too easy, but maddening is almost too hard. I'm managing to get through it strictly because I have played the game already, and I've done a lot of theory crafting, basically, and figured out what some of the best builds are for the units that I'm using. The nice thing about using Golden Deer, however, is a lot of their units are really freaking good. It's not to say there's any bad units amongst the game's roster, really, in its entirety. Almost every unit is perfectly usable and good. There may be a couple of exceptions like that. Like, in my experience, Ash is kind of underwhelming, even though I love Blue Lions. He's still good, don't get me wrong, but he takes a lot of babying to become good. But the Golden Deer has arguably... Out of the 3 lords, combat-wise, Claude is probably even combat capability-wise with Dimitri, and Dimitri is absurdly good. So imagine Dimitri, slightly faster, not quite as tanky maybe, but also able to use a bow out of the box with a lot of skill, and ends up getting a lot of tools in his favor. Claude is insanely good as a unit. In addition to Claude, though, there is a character in the Golden Deer House named Lysithea, and she's basically like a prodigy. Like, when you first get her, she's the youngest member of the house. She's like 14 or 15 years old, but she's absurdly powerful with magic, and as a result, she's able to train up her magic skill very quickly and able to absolutely bring devastation and ruin to people. And what she's able to do with her abilities at a very early stage is bring down some of the very difficult like the boss characters that you might not otherwise be able to defeat. Like some of not necessarily the chapter bosses that you're required to, like even those, I guess, but there's a couple of characters that show up through the course of the game that are like kind of there, like you're not necessarily meant to defeat them. You can if you're able to and get some extra stuff, but you don't have to. I don't want to spoil it, but let's just say Lysithea with a certain skill set is able to absolutely obliterate even those optional bosses with very little effort. And she kind of makes certain parts of the game trivial because she's just that good. And I certainly am not upset by that at all, because going through the most challenging aspect that the game has to offer is not exactly the most enjoyable situation. It is actually kind of fun, I'm not going to lie. As frustrating as some parts of it are, it's actually incredibly fun to put my abilities to the test, like to the absolute positive maximum level test, and find the best way to squeak through and get out of the situation that I put myself in by bringing up that entire game in the first place. But it's actually been very rewarding. I'm actually enjoying it quite a bit. And Golden Deer, I'm told, story-wise, is just about on par with the Blue Lions run. There's actually a lot of story elements that are revealed in Golden Deer that aren't revealed in any other of the 2 routes. And again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but if you're looking for the most complete story-wise playthrough of the game, I have been told, and I don't know this for a fact yet because I haven't finished it, but I'm told that Golden Deer offers the most complete story. Not necessarily the best one, but the most complete. So if you were looking to get the full Three Houses story experience on your first run, I recommend Golden Deer. If you want, in my opinion, the best story so far, Blue Lions is my favorite. And I mentioned earlier, if you want to try Black Eagles, I won't stop you. There's nothing wrong with picking Black Eagles. It's not like it's a bad route or anything, but of the three main lords, Edelgard is regrettably my least favorite. I'm not really that big of a fan of her as a character. It has nothing to do with the fact that she's a woman, I promise. It's just her personality and mine just don't clash. It's pretty much that simple. And those of you who are familiar with how I view certain characters or how I feel about certain character traits, if you know anything about Edelgard's character, you'll understand why that's the case. So no shade thrown Edelgard's way. I'm just not a fan of her character is all. So I know I've rattled on a bit here about Three Houses, but again, if you have not tried it and you're remotely a fan of the series and you have a Switch, I highly encourage you to give it a shot. I actually have a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, who is not really historically a fan of tactics games like this, and he also self-admittedly is not very good at them. But I have loaned him my copy of Three Houses, and he's actually enjoying it quite a bit. So there is something to be said for a game that is able to, you know, allow people that aren't normally fans of this kind of stuff to get into it and enjoy it and have a lot of fun with it. So that's what I like the most about this game series, honestly. Not just the fact that it's tactics and it's one of my favorite genre. Wow. A lot of crits happening on the enemy side, apparently. That's a Berserker, by the way, coming right at me. I need to take care of him. That's their sniper dead, too, now I betcha. No, never mind. He missed. Good job. But my favorite aspect of this game, apart from just the raw gameplay and the fact that I'm a huge fan of it, is the story is incredibly compelling. And like across nearly every installment, there are a couple that I say the story's a little bit weaker on. For example, Fates. I don't particularly care for the story in Fates to a large extent, and I could go on for an entire week's worth of episodes about why I'm not a fan of Fates, but we can talk about that some other time. Why was there a... You guys notice that this camera just kind of zoomed in over there for no reason? That was kind of odd. Anyway, so, at any rate, Three Houses is amazing. You should definitely give it a shot. I'm going to stop rambling on about it now. I just realized I can't get Boyd through this clearing here, so that's kind of a waste of effort, so I'm going to go around this way instead. That's fine. And now I've pushed him one square too far if I want to be able to move him again. And I don't think anybody around here is big enough to shove him back. Still have a ballista to contend with down there that I need to make sure Raisin stays well away from. I can move people... No, that's fine. I'm just going to keep moving forward, and we'll take care of the boss as quick as we can here. Now, I do need to have Ike arrive. That is the goal of the chapter, is to just have... I could just ignore the boss and go straight for the castle and finish it up. But I want that boss to die. I'm not a fan of him. I don't like him, so he's going to have to go. And Jill, however, can fly over those thickets and whatnot over there, so we'll send her that way. And we'll just kind of move the party ahead here. There is a reason why you don't want to turtle on this map. You want to move ahead as quickly as you can for the most part. If you stick around down here in the starting area for two... Oh, that's what happened. Some wyverns spawned. I wonder why it didn't show that to me. Interesting. Anyway, if you stick around too long in that spawning area of the map, reinforcements do show up, and there is another severe reason why you want to move away, and we'll see that probably in the next few turns here. We can move our mages ahead a little bit. I'm going to go send Soren up this way to support the green units in case more reinforcements show up. I think Ilyana can take a ballista and be fine, but I don't really want to risk her getting critically hit, so I'll move her up here too. Alright, now we need to contend with this Berserker, because I don't want to have to deal with him. Berserkers are not fun. And thankfully she has enough power behind her to take care of him. And I think Nephany or even Mist can probably handle the Brigand without too much effort. Goodbye, sir. I would say I'll miss you, but the truth fact is I won't. Okay, a blank level up for Astrid. That's just wonderful. Aragon, by the way, does not prevent you from getting crap level ups. Yeah, I think we're going to see if Mist can take care of this guy, and she cannot. Not quite, at any rate. So we're going to have to send Nephany in here. Nephany, however, can deal with this guy fairly adequately. I think we'll use Killer Lance for those Wyverns when they come flying in. I just noticed there's 2 more up there, too. Again, the game did not warn me about those guys. Don't know why, but it is what it is. Sometimes crap just happens. And we're going to keep Mist out of their line of fire for the time being, but I'll keep her close by. We need to grab that village. Here comes the Wyvern Lord for Nephany. He's got a spear or something, probably. Short spear, close enough. And here comes the other Wyverns. Where are they going? They're going to apparently reconnect with, or not reconnect, but regroup with the other folks down this way. Please feel free to waste all your ballistas on Jill that you want. I have no problem with you doing any of that. And this guy will hopefully be a mushy Wyvern paste on the floor here in a moment. I really need her to crit right now, and she didn't. Between her and Astrid, we shouldn't have an issue, though. And now this little squad is being moved up. I think the boss will move with them. Don't quote me on that. We'll find out in a second here, but I think he does. Yeah, he does. Okay. He's not difficult to deal with. He's just a scrub lord. And of course we have a green unit coming down here to try to help me out. Don't really need his help. He's just going to get himself killed probably, but... And yeah, here's the reason why you want to get out of that starting area, because this guy shows up. Does have amazing music, though, I will say. Gawain's son. Ah, he's much improved. He may prove to be worthy. Oh, good. Ike, of course, sees the Black Knight show up and is like, oh, it's him! Oh no! I must defeat him! But that being said, we'll worry about the Black Knight in the next episode. We're going to wrap this up next time. Shouldn't take us very much longer, and we'll move on to Chapter 25, which is an incredibly annoying one again, but we'll talk about that when we get there. So thank you for watching up to this point. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate all of you for tuning in. Feel free to leave a comment or a like on this video, any or all of those things. I would very much appreciate it. And subscribe to the channel if you've not already. I would appreciate that as well. So stick around next time. Until then, this has been Seraphin. Stay classy, internets.